this is the new mafia. I call it the pro-death advocate mafia, which started in the 60s, and now they've become this demonic. Well, I think they've always been demonic, but they've become more demonic as things just, I don't even know. It's like the more I talk to people about this, the more I genuinely feel that the people who started this movement were Satanists or Luciferians, or they were something evil and dark, and they somehow deceived women into believing that they were liberalizing themselves from God. In reality, that's what you were doing. You were liberalizing yourself from God. And if you really think about it, that is the devil. Because that's the devil is, if you think about it, what Lucifer was rebelling against God, that's exactly what you're doing. If you're liberalizing yourself and you think that by you having self-autonomy, that's what you think you have, is self-autonomy, by thinking that you are ending the life of a child because your life is more important, that is evil, that is demonic, that is the devil's work. And I'm not even a hardcore Christian. I'm not even considered a Christian because I don't go to church. So I want to start this segment is dark, but I have to talk about this. I have to expose this because we need to change the pro-choice movement into pro-death. That's what it really is. I'm ready.
My name is Dr. Anthony Levatino. I'm a practicing obstetrician gynecologist, and I performed over 1,200 abortions. First, I'm going to describe a first trimester medical abortion. This is a procedure in which the mother swallows pills in order to terminate her baby, and it is performed up to the 9th week of pregnancy. The procedure involves 2 steps. Step 1. At the abortion clinic or doctor's office, the woman takes pills which contain mifepristone, also called RU46. RU46 blocks the action of a hormone called progesterone. Progesterone is naturally produced in the mother's body to stabilize the lining of the uterus. When RU46 blocks progesterone, the lining of the mother's uterus breaks down, cutting off blood and nourishment to the baby, who then dies inside the mother's womb. It is important to note that even after it has been taken, it is possible to reverse the effects of RU46 and save the baby if progesterone is administered. The sooner, the better. Step 2. 24 to 48 hours after taking RU46, the woman takes misoprostol, also called Cytotec, that is administered either orally or vaginally. RU46 and misoprostol together cause severe cramping, contractions, and often heavy bleeding to force the dead baby out of the woman's uterus. The process can be very intense and painful, and the bleeding and contractions can last from a few hours to several days. While she could lose her baby anytime and anywhere during this process, the woman will often sit on a toilet as she prepares to expel the child, which she will then flush. She may even see her dead baby within the pregnancy sac. At 9 weeks, for example, the baby will be almost an inch long, and if she looks carefully, she might be able to count the fingers and toes. After she has disposed of her baby, the woman may have bleeding and spotting for several weeks. Bleeding lasts, on average, 9 to 16 days. 8% of women bleed more than 30 days, and 1% require hospitalization because of heavy bleeding. RU46 is only FDA approved for the first 7 weeks of pregnancy. While RU46 can be used off-label up to 9 weeks, the failure rate increases as the pregnancy progresses. At 7 weeks, it has a 5% failure rate. At 8 weeks, an 8% failure rate, and at 9 weeks, a 10% failure rate. If failure occurs, she will usually be offered a surgical abortion.
Yep.
For the mother, medical abortion often causes abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, and heavy bleeding. Maternal deaths have occurred, most frequently due to infection and undiagnosed ectopic pregnancy. First trimester surgical abortion called suction DNC, dilatation and curettage. This is the most frequently performed abortion and is used typically from 5 to 13 weeks of pregnancy. After administering anesthesia, the abortionist uses a speculum like this. This is placed inside the vagina and opened using this screw on the side, allowing the abortionist to see the cervix, the entrance to the uterus. The cervix acts as a gate that stays closed for the duration of pregnancy, protecting the baby until it is ready for birth. The abortionist uses a series of metal rods called dilators, like these, which increase in thickness, and inserts them into the cervix to dilate it, gaining access to the inside of the uterus where the baby resides. The baby has a heartbeat, fingers, toes, arms, and legs, but its bones are still weak and fragile. The abortionist takes a suction catheter like this one. This is a 14 French suction catheter. It's clear plastic, about 9 inches long, and it has a hole through the center. It is inserted through the cervix into the uterus. The suction machine is then turned on with a force 10 to 20 times more powerful than your household vacuum cleaner. The baby is rapidly torn apart by the force of the suction and squeezed through this tubing down into the suction machine, followed by the placenta. Though the uterus is mostly emptied at this point, one of the risks of a suction D&C is incomplete abortion. Essentially, pieces of the baby or placenta left behind. This can lead to infection or bleeding. In an attempt to prevent this, the abortionist uses a curette to scrape a lining of the uterus. A curette is basically a long-handled curved blade. Once the uterus is empty, the speculum is removed and the abortion is complete. The risks of suction D&C include perforation or laceration of the uterus or cervix, potentially damaging intestine, bladder, and nearby blood vessels, hemorrhage, infection, and in rare instances, even death. Future pregnancies are also at a greater risk for loss or premature delivery due to abortion-related trauma and injury to the cervix.
All right. And there's another one for third trimester, but I think you guys get the point. I want to know, why do men and women think it's okay to make abortion the first option when that is what happens during abortion? If that's not demonic, then you clearly have no soul whatsoever inside of you. You are soulless, and well, I believe people who are soulless deserve one place when they pass. But that's just me. At the end of the day, God is all loving and forgives everything. But humans, we don't have to. We're not God. We don't have to forgive. So that's just me. So the reason I wanted to show that is because so many women are so open to abortion. I just had a debate with my friend about it. And the perspective of her to me was in a way shocking because she is a mother, but B, because how many women think like her? There's thousands of women who think like her, who have never seen what an abortion procedure actually looks like. And that's a cartoon version. I could only imagine what it looks like in real life. It's just horror, absolute horror. So to me, the reason why it should be something that it should be last resort is because that is what you're doing. That video is what women and men are choosing to do. So to me, your first option should not be death. That should be your last resort. And because we are talking about this, I want to talk about chemical abortion pills. So chemical abortion pills became a thing in the 2000s. It became a popular thing in the 2000s. The Clinton, they weren't in the office already at the time. It was Bush, but they were pushing this pharmaceutical company that only made chemical abortion pills, and they wanted to push it into the market. So in 2021, the Biden-Harris administration removed every administration has their own FDA. So they sometimes they switch the FDA people in there, sometimes they keep them depending on the administration. So the administration's FDA, which is the same one we have now, removed the risk of evaluating mitigating strategy that forced all abortionists to perform an ultrasound before and after doing chemical abortions. So in 2021, during the pandemic, their reason was because of the pandemic, they removed the law to enforce abortionists to have to do an ultrasound before and after. So they were allowing abortionists to do telemedicine and to prescribe chemical abortion pills through a computer and mail it to the woman's house. Okay, yeah, bad. So what Laz is showing you is a Harvard review of the fact that they made this change in 2021. So this is what happened when they made that change. Before that change, they had to ensure that the woman was not RH negative, meaning their blood type is negative, which my blood type is negative. So if I was liberal, I'd be screwed right now. So ensure that women's was not RH negative and that the baby was RH positive, which would lead to RH incompatibility, and they would treat it with immunoglobulin, which is a protein. Chemical abortion. Okay, so they believe chemical abortions are safe, according to the FDA. So that's why they removed that law enforcing abortionists to do the actual, hands-on, let me feel you, let me make sure that, this is safe to give you in person. They removed that and everything became telemedicine because of the pandemic, because apparently that was, very important, was to allow women to abort their child at home during the pandemic. So they said that they were allowed to do that because the FDA approved it and the FDA knows what's safe. Okay, so this is the same FDA that has approved dangerous ingredients in our food that has been banned around the world. And I'm just going to give you 5 different ingredients that we consume and other countries in the world don't. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best to pronounce this because the pronunciations here are is kind of rough. Brominated vegetable oil is banned in the EU and Japan. It can build up skin irritation, memory loss, and nerve problems. Okay. Potassium bromate banned in the EU, Canada, China, and Brazil. Linked to cancer and animal studies and concerns, they're concerned that it has potential risk for cancer in humans. Isodicarbonamide, I'm not sure if I said that right. Pronunciation is ADA. It's banned in the EU, Australia, and Singapore. The WHO has linked it to respiratory issues, and its byproducts, when heated, are considered potentially carcinogenic. Recombinant bovine growth hormone, it's banned in the EU, Canada, and Japan. Concerns about increased levels of incidence like growth factors in milk, which some studies suggest could be linked again to cancer. Yellow 5 and yellow 6, these are, what are they? They're type of a food coloring. They're banned in Norway and Australia and the EU, and they're linked to hyperactivity and behavior issues in children. These are just 5. There's a bunch that the FDA has approved for us to consume that we shouldn't be consuming. So the fact that they're saying that chemical abortion pills are safe is bullshit. And the reason why that's bullshit is because now we have somebody, a victim who died from chemical abortion pills. And it was a Georgia resident who wanted to abort twins. And because the law in Georgia didn't allow her, she went to North Carolina. Are we there? Let me know when you're there. It's usatoday.com. Amber Thurman, that's the name of the person who passed. And so did her 2 children. You ready? Okay. So I don't want to watch the video because it's Kamala Harris when she was in that video when she was with, what's this lady? Oprah. And then those are the black women who are saying, oh my God, because of the Georgia ban on abortion law, my daughter died. And that's not the reality. Your daughter died because she decided to take a chemical abortion pill and she trusted the abortionist who gave it to her. They didn't do an ultrasound beforehand. They didn't do an ultrasound afterwards. They literally gave her the pill like if she was drinking like a probiotic and told her, you can go home. And she ended up dying in the hospital. That is what actually happened. Instead, they're playing politics and they're saying, no, it's because of the abortion ban. No, it's because of the chemical abortion pills. If she would have taken them in Georgia, she would have died anyway, because chemical abortion pills are dangerous. Abortion, period, is dangerous. But chemical abortion pills, it's like, I'm going to get really controversial here. It's like the vaccine, you know? It was rolled out too fast. It was an experiment. We don't know what the consequences are going to be long term. And right now we're seeing it with this victim, unfortunately. So there's a Fox News debate that, I don't know who this lady is, but she destroyed Tim Walz. 349 to 627. That was really good. That was a good debate.
Okay,
so
and
it's about character.
Let's focus on what your position is and the vice president's position as well. I want to talk about abortion too, because this came up at the debate. It's been a winning argument for Democrats on many ballots, but I want to clarify what the law is there in Minnesota. Abortion Finder, a website that helps women find access, says abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in a pregnancy you are. You signed the bill that makes it legal through all 9 months. Is that a position you think Democrats should advocate for nationally?
Freaking demon.
Look, the vice president and I have been clear. The restoration of Roe versus Wade is what we're asking for.
But that
this
law
is a
goes
woman's
far beyond
right
Roe v. Wade.
to make her own choice. The law is very clear. It does not change that. That was been debunked on every occasion.
Let's agree. What you signed is there's not a single limit through 9 months of pregnancy. Roe had a trimester framework that did have limits through the pregnancy. The Minnesota law does not have that.
This puts the decision with the woman and her health care providers. The situation we have is when you don't have the ability of health care providers to provide that, that's where you end up with a situation like Amanda Zaworski in Texas, where they are afraid to do what's necessary. This doesn't change anything. It puts the decision back on to the woman, to the physicians, and we know that this is simply something to be brought up to be very clear. Donald Trump's asking for a nationwide abortion ban.
That's a lie.
We don't see this as a winning campaign.
He has said repeatedly that he will not sign a national abortion ban.
Lie.
Are you calling that just, like, it's a flat out lie?
Incredible pathological liars.
Yes, of course. And Senator Vance has in the past said so too. Now look, they may see this as an election issue. We see it as a right of women to make their own bodily decisions. And that's what the states like my state have the ability to put that in. States like Georgia force women to cross the border, and then we have a death of Amber Thurman. So let's be very clear. Trying to cut hairs on an issue on this is not where the American public's at. They want the restoration of Roe versus Wade. Vice President Harris said she would sign it. That's what we'll do when we're elected.
But to be clear, the Minnesota law is far beyond Roe v. Wade. And about the Amber Thurman case in Georgia, her family has, and it's tragic, she is a young mother who left behind a young son. But what her family has said is it was a complication from an abortion pill that she received. And she didn't get proper care when she went to a Georgia hospital, which had multiple opportunities to intervene there. Her own attorney, the family's attorney, says it wasn't the Georgia law, it was the hospitals. What he claims is malpractice, not treating her when she clearly showed up in distress and still had the byproducts of her pregnancy because of that rare complication from the abortion pill. So just to be clear on the Georgia law and how her family and her attorney sees it.
And then now the next one is that same video, 648 to 819. Absolutely disgusting, this guy.
Let's clarify more changes that you signed in Minnesota as well. Several things were repealed with respect to reporting infants who may have survived an abortion attempt. Language that used to be part of the statute was taken out. We'll put this on the screen so people can see. It used to require medical personnel to, quote, preserve the life and health of the born alive infant. That language has been repealed. It's no longer part of the law. Also struck from the law was language about reporting infants that are born alive, what treatment they receive, and whether they live or die. Why was it important to you to get that protection out of the law?
Well, the reason is because it was a violation of the Constitution. 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 Minnesota law aligns with every other case of what physicians are required by their ethical responsibilities. And so it changed nothing other than aligning with all care that physicians provide in any circumstance for any medical case. And so it's alignment, as it's always been. It's the cases we've seen in Minnesota, the outcomes we get in our healthcare results are the best in the nation. And all it did was align with existing law.
But you do acknowledge it takes out the language about preserving the life of an infant who was born alive.
Mm-hmm.
Every doctor has an ethical responsibility to provide what they can in each situation. That is the way the law is written now. It's the same for any person who shows up. And again, this is a distraction from the real issue here is women being forced into miscarriages, women being forced to go back home, get sepsis, potentially die, like we saw in cases in Texas. And
that was a lie. She didn't die.
Mortality rates in Texas have skyrocketed off the charts because of this.
That's also a lie. That's such a lie. He's talking about Kate Cox, or I think that's her name, Kate Cox, something like that. She did not die, but okay, bro. These people are demonic. And if he thinks he's a Christian or a Catholic, I don't know what type of God he believes in, but it's definitely not the Christian or Catholic God. That's for sure. So I want to go back really quick to that video, that picture that I because this is really important. The picture I emailed you, that one. Yeah. Zoom into that really quick. All right. So a little more because I can't see.
Well, we can't see it like that. Give me a second.
Oh, they can't see it?
No. Hold on.
Yeah, let me know.
Just talk a little bit.
Okay, because the way they made that law literally allows doctors to discard a living baby after it's survived an abortion. That is what that law has allowed, because it specifically and purposefully, better said, removed to like that very, very important part that I want to read. I'm just waiting for my producer and the love of my life to help me out here. Does it let you?
No.
Oh, darn. All right, can you go back to that video and just pause where it said that?
What video?
The one that you just had, the one that they were talking, the Fox one. See if you can go back to that.
You never do that.
Because if you can put the actual picture, then
No, there's an ad.
of course there's an ad. Jesus Christ. Let me go on. Yeah, Jesus Christ. We definitely need Jesus Christ right now. That's for sure. All right, I'm going to read it here until you find it over there.
So just go right back to where we were?
Yeah, I just need where it shows that picture.
Oh,
So
it's there.
yeah, it's in the video. You just have to pause it if it lets you, because for some reason when I was watching it wouldn't let you. So it says the original law says an abortion alive. I'm sorry, yes, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. A born alive, an infant. I'm reading the whole thing. As a result of an abortion who is born alive shall be fully recognized as a human person and accorded immediate protection under the law. All reasonable measures consistent with good medical practice, including the compilation of appropriate medical records, shall be taken by the responsible medical personnel to preserve the life and health of the born alive infant, care for the infant who was born. They took off born alive in the beginning, and they just put an infant who was born alive shall be fully recognized as a human person according immediately all the way down, and then they removed that's a very important part. They removed preserve the life and health of the born alive infant. Why would you remove that from the law? By them removing it, they are legally telling you in Minnesota, we will discard the infant even though it survived an abortion. We are not bound now to preserve the life. We can literally terminate it. And that's why Donald Trump used the word terminate, because that's literally what they're doing without telling you they're doing it. And that's part of this whole deceive universal law. They are telling you that what they're doing in plain sight without literally telling you what they're doing. And if you are paying attention, you'll see it.